Everybody loves that fresh new bike feeling, but inevitably, if you ride regularly, they're going to deteriorate and perhaps not feel so new. Doing this kind of service, I'd probably do it 2 to 3 times in 6 months, something like that. So here is a few tips on how to keep your bike riding like a new one. Pretty straightforward piece of advice is keep your bike clean, just like your new one would be when it arrives. Obviously, dirt and grime builds up mainly around the chain drivetrain area. These will wear out really fast if you leave them dirty. So my advice would be get a chain cleaner, clean them all off, degrease everything, all the pivots, moving parts, keep them nice and clean, and therefore they shouldn't wear out as fast. That's the simple part out of the way. Now we're going to look at stripping the bike down, taking bits apart, cleaning, re-greasing them, and we're going to start with the headset. Make sure those bearings are not sat in dirt and grime within the frame, which they'll wear out far more quickly if they are. Mine's perfect. Just check it's all fine. No play, I know it's all perfect. Now we're just going to check the bottom bracket, service and re-grease that. First of all, just give it a little pedal backwards. If it feels kind of rough and nasty, you know that your bearings are probably on the way out. Another telltale sign is just grab the cranks here and sort of move them side to side. If you feel some play in there, that's also a telltale sign that the bottom bracket needs replacing. It's worth noting that press fit bottom brackets tend to creak more regularly than a conventional one, so you might have to do this slightly more often. Keep it greased nice and clean, and then it'll stay creak free. So now we've finished the bottom bracket, we're going to move on to the linkage. I know some of you ride hardtails, so this won't refer to you. The best way to check it is to get the bike out of the stand and then just simply lift the seat up, wobble the back wheel. You're looking for any movement within the bearings. It's worth noting that if you do have play in a certain pivot, that the bearings or bushing will need replacing. No amount of servicing will repair that. Nothing there, they're all fine. All I will do is check that they're all tight, so I don't have any issues with stuff coming loose. I'm just going to put my finger in there and check that the bearings are nice and free and there's no real play in there that I can feel. There is a couple more checks to do when the wheel's in the fork itself. Just wobble it side to side, make sure that there's no free play in there. If there is free play, you need to replace the bearings in the front wheel. And also, if it is running really rough, just give it a spin and you'll feel like a little bit of vibration in the bottom of the fork. I can't feel anything here, so I know that my front wheel bearings are fine. I have put a little bit of grease on the axle just to keep it running nice and smoothly so it doesn't seize inside. How your brakes feel really determines how new or old your bike can feel. I always knew when I was going into bike shops and I had a feel of the brake, I knew whether it was a cool bike or not just by how nice and solid they felt. So you want a really solid feel for your brakes. Obviously, the oil inside the brake does wear out. It does become dirty and the feel of your brake will become spongy and perhaps a little bit of air will build up inside there. So it's worth flushing the system through, giving them a quick bleed, and then those brakes will really have that positive feeling. If you do know what you're doing, then that's fine. Otherwise, take it to your local bike shop and I'm sure they'll get your brakes feeling perfect for you. Now we're going to check the pedals. Obviously, this is the main contact point with the bike. If they are worn out, you will be able to tell straight away. Same as you check the bottom bracket, just move them, check that there's no play and make sure they spin nice and freely. Also the mechanism, that spins nice and freely. If there is a problem, Crank Brothers do provide a little service kit that has a bushing, bearing, and will get your pedals feeling like new once again. One of the big things for me is suspension. It's really worth staying on top of it and try and get it serviced, I would say ballpark once a year, depending on how much you ride. Send it off to a professional. They'll put new oil, new seals, and it really will transform your bike. Even if you only ride a hardtail, it's worth getting the front suspension done just to give it that plush, new feel. Lastly, but by no means least, is what I call your consumables. Tires, grips, and brake pads. There's nothing better than having a fresh new set of grips to make your bike feel new. Tires, well, you don't want those to let you down, so simply just spin the wheels slowly, checking for perhaps a slice or some damage in the tyre or just general wear. Brake pads, simply just have a look. down here at the caliper, you can see how much meat's left on your pads. I wouldn't advise running them really low. They'll score the disc and then cost you a load more money. So I can see there's plenty of meat on those pads. They're going to be all right for a little while. So the last 2 points are gears indexing and chain wear. The last thing you want is stiff gears that don't index correctly. So you might need to replace the outer cable and your inner cable so they run nice and smoothly. And also chain wear. A worn out chain will be really noisy slapping around, especially when you're descending, and everybody likes a quiet bike, right? So stay on top of that. Probably worth checking out our video on how to stay on top of your transmission up here, and also suspension explained, click down here. And of course, click on us to subscribe to GMBN. For me personally, doing this kind of service, I'd probably do it 2 to 3 times in 6 months, something like that. Obviously you ride your bike a little bit more in the summer, so perhaps you do that more regularly. And don't forget to give us a thumbs up like on this video.